This whole course is on communication, so you might think that we're going to be talking about speaking. But the reality is that speakers are at the mercy of listeners. So Brownell, there she is, argues that communication is listener defined. A message actually means whatever a receiver thinks it does. Old theoretical models sort of had this idea that a sender would send a message and the receiver would just listen and get it. But that's not how things work at all. The process is dynamic, and both sender and receiver and even observers are constantly listening and talking. Listening underpins all of human communication. We simply can't craft good messages without listening to others and getting an idea of what they want and where they're coming from, what they need, and how open they are to our message. We need to work out what they will find persuasive and interesting. This challenge is particularly evident to me now as I try to work out what I think you need to know about communication, as well as how to get it across and not be a boring while I do it. Brownell makes the case, and I agree, that if you can get listening right, you're more likely to be able to create shared meanings and have your message heard. But it's really hard, and there are a bunch of reasons why we find it difficult to listen. Some of these are preoccupation, prejudgment, reactivity, and a lack of motivation or effort. When we're preoccupied, we're thinking about ourselves or our own problems or other ideas. A classic example is sort of drifting off when listening to someone. Often at the end, you know you've done it because they stop and ask you what they've said, and then you have to apologise. Tim. Did I tell you that Phil wants to go all out for his birthday this year? I'm not having a bar of it. So I said to him, what is wrong with the usual? Glass of wine, game of Scrabble. You know, if he really wants to be fancy, I'll whip up a lasagna. Lasagna and Monopoly. Lasagna and Risk. Lasagna and Cluedo. Prejudgment is another thing that really gets in the way of us hearing people. We often think we know what someone's going to say or what they really mean, and this stops us from listening to their actual words and ideas.
Now, I don't know about you, but I absolutely love
dinosaurs, right? I was thinking the exact same thing. I love thinking about dinosaurs. Stegosaurus, right? Triceratops. What's with that? Brontosaurus. Reactivity can also get in the way. When we listen, we're not just listening to words, we're listening for emotional content, for the way that people are saying things. When someone speaks with heavy emotion, we often react to the emotion rather than their message. An obvious example of this is when someone's angry at us or they're being really mean. It just hurts us and we take away that hurt, actually without getting the content. You can also do it positively. Politicians try to whip up this collective feeling of success and connection, but if you step back, their words actually have little meaning. So there are all these inspirational, motivational quote generators online that take buzzwords and emotional words to create quotes that actually sound good but mean nothing. Actually, I can do one right now. Sometimes we resist greatness. We bow down under the weight of ordinariness. But we don't have to. In fact, we can cast off the shackles of our minds, of our hearts, of our weight, and soar up, higher even than we have imagined. Because while you've been searching, you haven't turned around. The truth has been in front of you all along. You are love. You are power. You are magnificent. On the off chance you responded to the emotion of my tone and felt it was uplifting, it's because you weren't really listening. Well, not to the words anyway. While the tone was positive, the message was mostly nonsense. I mean, not the bit about you being magnificent. I am sure that you are. But the content leading up to that was garbled, and reactivity to emotional content can make it hard for us to see that. Lack of motivation or effort is also a really important predictor of listening success. In short, do you want to listen? For me, the answer is often, no, I don't. Actually, what I want to do is eat toast, play some sort of mindless game on my phone, and just basically wind down after a horrendously busy day. Often it feels too exhausting in my own head and thoughts and feelings to be able to really tune in to what someone else is saying. even if I love them, sometimes especially if I love them. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this and, like me, miss out on lecture content, friend stories, and genuine human connection. This is one of these things that I want us to tackle together.